You cannot afford to stand still in this industry. You have to be doing something to move yourself along. And people will say, oh, well, um, it's working for me. That's great. But there's going to come a time when it doesn't. And even still, you still have to grow. What if it is working for you and you're getting the increased volume, but now you have to bring on a staff? That is going to, make you raise your rates as well. I hear certain people say, it's a pandemic, I can't afford to raise my rates right now. And I'm like, how much work did you do when everything was, losing its mind? Did you do double work? Did you have to plan several weddings over and again because they canceled or they postponed? If they were selling PlayStation 5s and Beyonce was selling her gear for $800 a pop and people paid it, you can afford to raise your rates.
Huge. But I think I love that you mentioned who, like
Mhm.
who you are.
Yeah.
Figure that out first. You said, let's roll it back, who you are. Do you think that, how much do you think that matters? I guess is what I'm asking, because I can see in my mind someone who has experience with a luxury market already because
Mhm.
of jobs they've had, or
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
a way that they've grown up, or they have been in an environment like you do live in LA, or you
Mhm.
do live in Orange County, let's say, or you do live just, where I'm speaking, way inland,
Yeah.
where, a cheap and cheerful type of wedding is a lot more what people are looking for. And you're
Exactly.
going to know what those things. So do you think you can break that, or do you think the best, like how far should people be looking at that who they are piece?
Oh, that who piece is everything. The who piece is definitely everything. It's sometimes it can even trump what you do
Okay.
because people are going to be connected to you. They're going to be attracted to you. Baby, if we're being 10,000% real, we all do the same thing. We all do the same thing. We just get out a thesaurus and we use a few different pretty words to say how we're going to do it differently. We all do the same thing. How we do it and who we are when we do it is what sells. People will always connect with what sells. And when I teach client experiences, I teach them with that Maya Angelou quote. People may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That feeling is a connection and it comes from you. They have to like you. Like you said at the very beginning, this is a very intimate decision that they are going to do. Planning a wedding is a very intimate action that they are going to do in their lives. They're going to spend 6 months with a stranger talking about family problems, dietary issues, oh my God, money, all of these personal things. It has to be with someone that they like. It has to be with someone that they trust. It has to be with someone that they know. So the who you are is very important because I'm always pulling out everybody's quotes. Dita Von Teese said, you could be the juiciest peach in the world, but there will be somebody out there who still hates peaches. If you are trying to be the juiciest peach in an apple orchard, of course you're going to think that you are a failure. You need to roll your little fuzzy ass with the other peaches so that you can get picked up. That is very important. Don't try to conform at all. Be who you are and bloom where you're planted because what you do and how you do it will make the sale all of the time. And I tell people too with pricing, never let it come down to price. Never let it come down to price. And that's how proposals come in because it's how it's presented, of course. But if you have a client that is all only making a decision based on pricing, then that means they didn't see value in anything. Nothing stuck out to them. They are just looking to get something done. They're looking for hired help. They're looking for skilled labor pretty much. So at this point, you're literally just the independent contractor. They don't care who shows up. They just want it done. So if it ever comes to that, you know that you've messed up. And that's where you need to go back and look at things and see, who did I connect with? You know what I mean? Go back through your CRM, Honeybook, Dubsado, Tabe, whatever it is that you're using. Do a report for about 2 years and see, who did you connect with? Who were you excited about? Whose events, who had like the best venue that you wanted to work at or that you enjoy working at? Who had the best vendors? Who had the best experience? How many of those did you book? How many of those did you have a really great experience with? And just a lot of the times, the data and the answers that we're looking for, that we're like, oh my God, I wish I knew, it's sitting right there in our own records. And I ask my students that all the time. They're like, I just wish I knew what people wanted. And I'm like, cool, let's go run a report and I'll tell you exactly what it is that people want. All the data's right there.
That's tough for people, I think, because I know I'm so
Yes.
guilty of this.
Yes.
Sometimes the answer is right in front of you. You know what I've found? When I'm going to ask someone who I feel like is an expert in a certain area, and when I have to formulate a question for that person, sometimes just the act of formulating an intelligent question makes me realize that I already have the
You
answers.
already know the answer.
I'm
You
like,
already know the answer.
what am I doing right now? Like, just because of having to put it together.
Yeah.
You mentioned experience, and I want to touch on that for a second. When you
Yeah.
talked about experience and price, do you
Mhm.
think that price has anything to do with the experience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, because, and a lot of people don't think this either. Like I teach my students, you should be raising your rates every year and a half. And when we raise your rates, it's not just going to be some arbitrary number. It's not going to be, oh, well, I want those shoes. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to raise my rates. It's going to be, of course, if your cost of goods have gone up, if your expensive have gone up, we need to change it there. But how much experience have you received and have you been gaining too? You know what I mean? So, like, how many times were you published? How many conferences did you go to? How many shoots have you done? How many educational tools have you gotten? That is part of your experience, and that is what's making you a better insert the blank. People need to pay for that. Your pricing can't stay the same. You know what I mean? It's going to go up. So I think that your experience definitely correlates with your pricing for sure.
Terica, you're talking about action there, right?
Yeah.
Shoots and
Yeah.
and all of this stuff, right, is action driven. And if someone is standing still and they're not putting in the work, yeah, I mean, maybe they shouldn't be raising their prices all that much because they're not investing into themselves. But if they're there, they're getting a coach, right?
Mhm.
They're hiring you, they're helping them level up their business, they're doing this stuff. Just by the natural osmosis of what that is, they've got to charge more.
Absolutely. And this is not an industry where you can afford to stand still.
No.
You know what I mean? We're not a stagnant industry at all. We have different trends that come through every Pantone releases different colors every single year. And then that influences so many different things. You cannot afford to stand still in this industry. You have to be doing something to move yourself along. And people will say, oh, well, um, it's working for me. That's great. But there's going to come a time when it doesn't. And even still, you still have to grow. What if it is working for you and you're getting the increased volume, but now you have to bring on a staff? That is going to, make you raise your rates as well. And I hear certain people say, it's a pandemic, I can't afford to raise my rates right now. And I'm like, how much work did you do when everything was, losing its mind? Did you do double work? Did you have to plan several weddings over and again because they canceled or they postponed? If they were selling PlayStation 5s and Beyonce was selling her gear for $800 a pop and people paid it, you can afford to raise your rates. Absolutely.
That again, like you're just dropping diamonds everywhere through this whole thing. It's amazing. So I love